Good afternoon, 7th grade. It is Thursday, April 23rd, 2020. Hope you enjoyed your little break from yesterday since I finished that section in one day. But we are now on chapter 25, Toward a New Millennium. But before we start this chapter, today you have quiz 38 to do. So go ahead and pause the video and go work on that. Remember, you can use your books to help you with the quiz, and then once you're done, come back to the video. Alright, I hope you had a good time on quiz 38. I hope it wasn't too challenging for you. Remember, all the information's in the book for you to find. There's nothing too difficult on it. So we're going to be doing chapter 25.1, A Threat to Nationalism. That's pages 393 to 396. And since you did a quiz today, I'm not going to have you do the section review. Don't want to put too much work on you guys. So just a quiz today, no section review. So let's dive in. A Threat to Nationalism, the New World Order. The 1990s opened with America's newly elected president, George H.W. Bush, proclaiming that the world was poised on the brink of a new world order. The New World Order is a global push to unite the nations of the world for the purpose of obtaining and maintaining global peace. Mikhail Gorbachev popularized the idea at a United Nations meeting in 1988. Voicing his support 2 years later, President George H.W. Bush made it one of the main focuses of his presidency, and President Bill Clinton followed by establishing the NWO as a national agenda in the United States. The NWO leaders desired to make change in nations to bring them all under a one-world political, economic, and religious system. This movement is intricately tied in with the goals and aims of the UN, which formed a world court and declared the eventual establishment of a global tax and global police force. The UN is behind the majority of these changes, which represent a movement towards global socialism. Let's pause there for a second. A one-world governed economy with one religion. Do you think that would work out well? No, it would not, because remember, we got some countries who are atheistic. They're not going to want any religion. So thankfully the UN has not had success on this. I believe this would truly be the end of the world if we ever had this new world order come to power. Thankfully no one takes the United Nations seriously today, though. The global power of the UN expanded dramatically, laying the groundwork for a future NWO. Believing that the UN works to protect the world from threats such as hunger, violence, and environmental challenges, nations around the world have turned their sovereignty over to the UN in exchange for the promise of peace and protection. The UN has built a system of global laws that would be enforced through global military and policing systems. It has also established its own international criminal court system, the ICC, designed to be the overruling voice in world decisions. The UN has encouraged the formation of regional governments, such as the European Union, which has become stepping stones toward a one-world government. And a lot of these things have caused issues in modern times. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or the Law of the Sea Treaty, created an international seabed authority. This authority has, in effect, complete control over all the oceans, which is 70% of the Earth's surface, and everything in them, including the valuable minerals below the ocean floor. The fees charged for mining the ocean floor have provided an independent source of revenue, granting further autonomy to the UN. Although the United States has not ratified the treaty, law guarantees the International Seabed Authority the power to regulate all ocean research and exploration, the authority to deny resources to any nation needing them, and the ability to require all related U.S. intelligence, technology, and military information to be open to it. Remember, there are enemies of the United States that are members of this team. They have access to all military, intelligence, and technology information at their fingertips. Seeing why this one world order idea isn't such a good idea? European Union, the formation. Though it started as a Western European economic entity to simply combat the domination of Eastern Europe by the Soviets, the European Union has grown to encompass vast political proportions. This union had its birth in the late 1950s as the European Economic Community. Member nations had free trade with each other, unhindered by customs, with a common external tariff applied to them as a whole. It changed its name to the European Community in the 1970s. In 1994, the Treaty on European Union turned the EC into the European Union, or EU, resulting in a solid economic and monetary integration. By 2000, the EU had control of 1/4 of the world's commerce. The EU was specifically designed to encourage the combination of European political and economic institutions by creating one currency, the euro, a unified foreign and security policy, common citizenship rights, and by advancing cooperation in the areas of immigration, asylum, and judicial affairs. By the summer of 2013, there were 28 member countries in the EU and 5 in candidacy, the euro. When the euro was introduced as a single currency of EU members, its sponsors suggested that it would one day rival the American dollar. This prediction came true when the euro surpassed the dollar as the currency of choice in buying oil on the world market. Early in 2008, merchants in New York City began accepting the euro as a form of payment, and it's still more expensive than the dollar, which is why everything in Europe is a lot more expensive than in the United States because their dollar is worth more. Which is really weird when you think about it, because things should actually be worth less. But that's neither here nor there. NAFTA. Admiring the success of the tariff-free European community and desiring the same benefits for their two countries, Canada and the United States creates their own free trade agreement in 1988 called NAFTA, or the North American Free Trade Agreement. And this grew out of this union when Canada and the United States extended the provisions all the way to include Mexico. And all 3 countries ratified it in 1993, and President Bill Clinton passes it into law on January 1st, 1944. NAFTA's goal was to eliminate trade restrictions such as tariffs and duties between the 3 countries. In seeking free trade, NAFTA could ultimately overpower U.S. laws. Though not immediately evident, NAFTA encourages the consolidation of multinational corporations for business advantages. These major businesses could then appeal to NAFTA's trade laws, which can override and dismantle national laws. The economic cooperation resulted in a more recent development, the North American Union, which is designed to provide a larger, more competitive trading bloc with the European Union. It has called for a unification of Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Some politicians and economists have even proposed a new country currency via Mero. Thank goodness we haven't. That sounds really lame. This currency would allow North Americans to regain a more powerful position on the world stage. Such economic unification of these 3 countries could lead to a political unification, which is going to be really difficult because you've got a British Parliament in Canada, you've got a president here, and then you've got Mexico, which is overrun by the cartel, so this just really wasn't work. So obviously, there has been opposition to these trade agreements that have basically kept them from happening as far as the unification of our 3 countries. Many nations of the world have joined hands to create a global economy. Helping stimulate and supervise the push toward a more global economy, the World Trade Organization, or WTO, is considered one of the most powerful international bodies. Officially founded on January 1st, 1995, it assumed the role of influencing political and economic development throughout the world. Its focus is expanding global business to the exclusion of the national sovereignty and patriotism of individual countries. The growth of the internet and all its new avenues of trade and communication has also influenced the ability of international businesses to expand across the language and cultural barriers. And so that concludes today's section on 25 Buck Fun. Remember, no section review today because you guys did the quiz. If you haven't gone and done the quiz yet, please go do so after this. And I will see you guys on Friday.